How many millions of dollars is it going to take for these guys to start to realize that it's just not working? Anyway, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy XIV today. So, yeah, let's cue up the music and we'll get right into it. Alright, so the Final Fantasy director Final Fantasy XIV director Yoshi P hints game will arrive on Nintendo console in the future. Also says he was not surprised by the mixed reaction to Dawn Trail. Dawn Trail is the latest expansion to this game. For those of you who don't know, Final Fantasy XIV is an MMO type Final Fantasy game. Usually Final Fantasy comes out as a single player game every few years. They're up to number 16 now, I believe. Yeah, number 16 was the latest that came out. 14 was 2 ago, and it was for some reason a MMO style game. Very successful from what I understand. Has a lot of players, pretty good sized player base and all that. I remember when it first came out, it was terrible. They actually had to like redo the whole thing from scratch, kind of like almost like a reboot of the entire game, from my understanding. So that's kind of crazy, but since then it seems to resonate with people quite a bit, and it's been doing well, making money, for Square Enix and all that. So, good on them for that. So let's talk about this article, though. Final Fantasy XIV director Naoki Yoshida, colloquially referred to as Yoshi P, hinted that the game will arrive on the Nintendo Switch in the future, while also revealing he was not surprised that the most recent expansion, Dawn Trail, received a mixed reaction. In an interview with Game Reactor, Yoshi P stated, "I'm sure that all of the media and all our players probably suspecting they really want to have our game release on Nintendo's consoles, but the concept that we have for Final Fantasy XIV is to release our game on as many devices as possible." He added, "So, looking towards achieving that goal, we are working towards making progress and we are having discussions, so I hope that everyone can look forward to the news in the time to come." Now, I know Nintendo's on the cusp of releasing a new console. A lot of people are referring to it as the Switch 2, whatever. Nintendo has a way of changing things up every few years and going a completely different direction with their devices and all that. So I'm curious to see what they've got planned. Will it be a Switch 2? Will it be something else entirely? I don't know. And is Final Fantasy XIV being slated for the Switch? Or is it being aimed at whatever is coming afterwards? That's what I'm curious about. It would give the game, quite a large player base to join in with the current one right now. So, there's that. Given Yoshi P's comments here, it is unlikely the game will arrive on the current version of the Switch. Okay. But it is quite possible it could arrive on the successor. The successor to the Switch was announced by the president of Nintendo, Shuntaro Furukawa, back in May. He stated, "This is Furukawa, president of Nintendo. We will make an announcement about the successor to Nintendo Switch within the fiscal year. It will have been over 9 years since they announced the existence of Nintendo Switch back in March 2015. We will be holding a Nintendo Direct this June regarding the Nintendo Switch software lineup for the latter half of 2024, but please be aware that there will be no mention of the Nintendo Switch successor during that presentation." We need more of that in gaming, and whether it comes from from developers, studios, or these big, console companies, Sony's, the Xbox, and all that. That's nice. He says, we're going to have a Nintendo Direct, but you're not going to hear about the successor. That way, there's not all this speculation and build-up and all that. Yeah, it disappoints people to some degree, but what's more disappointing? Being told this is not going to happen, or keeping your hopes up that it will, and you're just waiting, and you're waiting, and you watch the whole thing, and you're like, oh, they're going to save it to the end. It's going to be this great big announcement, and then womp, womp, womp. Got nothing, right? I think that's much worse. So this is great. Smart of him to do that. Final Fantasy XIV is one of the more popular MMOs on the market. The game has been around since 2013 after replacing the failed 2010 version. That's what I was talking about when they rebooted the whole thing. The game hit an all-time peak concurrent player count of 95,150 back in December 2021 on Steam, and it had a 24-hour peak of 30,537. Not bad. The game is currently available on PlayStation 4, Mac OS, PlayStation, and Xbox Series X and S. Now, while the game remains popular, it did find itself in the middle of a controversy following the release of the Dawn Trail expansion by including an actor claiming to be transgender as the voice of the DLC's main character, Wook Lamont. Furthermore, the expansion sidelined the player character in favor of Wook Lamont as the main character of the story. And here we go again with the DEI crap, right? Now, I don't play Final Fantasy XIV, so let me know what you think about this, and let me know the extent of this inside the game. Wook Lamont is now more of a main character. I get that. That would kind of aggravate me to change. You know, I don't like changing my main character in a game, right? Even for small portions of it. God of War, Ragnarok, for instance, playing as Atreus for a little while. Yeah, Atreus was cool. He had some cool abilities and all that, but I bought the game to play as Kratos, not as Atreus. And, you know, so it was a little frustrating when that happened, you know. And this happens in other games, too. It's one of the main reasons I didn't want to play the latest, Alan Wake. Because they turned it into Alan Woke by adding the strong black female character, who's probably a lesbian, in there. And splitting the time between Alan, whose name is the game, Alan Wake 2, and this other person, which seemed kind of silly. I don't want that. I want to play as a single character and be done with it, you know. Every now and then it works. You know, the latest, the remake of Resident Evil 4 playing as Ashley, you know, that was in the original too. But the remake, oh my god, her part of the game is fun. It's a nail biter, you know, so it does work from time to time, but yeah, I can see why people would get upset about it. Now, is Wook Lamont, the character, actually transgender in the game, or are they a guy that sounds like a girl? I don't know what they've done with this, but, you know, everything involved with this whole transgender movement is a cancer right now in gaming, and people need to stop pushing it and stop hiring these people in gaming. I'm sorry, it's too divisive and it's too cancerous and it causes too many issues, and you're going to lose money over it no matter what. You're going to lose money. For the amount of people you may gain because you put a transgender person into it, you're going to lose an exponential number more of people. That's just the way it works out. People hate this stuff. They're tired of it. It's been thrust upon us as a society for several years now. You know, started with the LGBT movement and, you know, the gay marriage and all that, and it just has snowballed into this weird, crazy thing where everybody thinks they have the right to push their perversion onto the rest of the world, whether it be through parades and running around buck naked. Like, if I went out on the street and ran around with my wiener out, I'd get arrested, right? But these pride parades, it's all cool. Why? Because they're gay? That makes zero sense. You don't get special protection for that. I'm sorry, that's wrong. Anyway, let's get back to the story. In an interview with PC Gamer at Gamescom, Yoshi P shared he was unsurprised by the mixed reception to the expansion. He said, "This being a game, it's a form of entertainment, and you'll always see some form of mixed response to entertainment. A second factor is that with Endwalker, we reached a big climax to a long-standing, spanning story. To a certain extent, I had already predicted that we would have some sort of mixed response this time." He added, "So, if the question is whether I was shocked in a big way, the answer is no, not really. In fact, upon reflection, Yoshi P admitted there were some teams he and the team could have been implemented better, such as having some of the story beats diverted to the side quests. So if anyone was interested in learning more about them, they could just play the side quests on their own time and enjoy it at their own pace." He also noted they will be taking into consideration feedback regarding how long it took to get to the battle content. "We did see feedback from people who wanted to tackle the battle content faster. So because we saw that type of feedback, we will take that on board as a learning process and experience." So at least these guys are receptive to fan response, because fan response is huge. As a gamer, you know, you want to take my money and put it in your pocket and give me a game that I want to play that's going to keep me engaged, and that is good enough that when the next game comes out from you guys, I'm going to give it some serious consideration right off the bat. You know, and if it's a sequel or another game related to the IP that I just bought and enjoyed, and you separated me from my money for, well, hey, even better. You know, I got a much higher chance of getting that. So that's the goal here. But every time you do stuff like this, you drive people away. And, you know, it's I'm sure it's a significant number of people, because more and more on the internet, people are pushing back against this stuff. More companies are dumping their DEI departments and all that, and just liquefying them and getting them out of there and liquidating. Liquefying. So But yeah, they're getting rid of these departments and all that, and moving on because they realize it's a cancer and it doesn't pay, and it's not good for business. You know. I don't know what these guys are going to do here, but like I said, let me know if you play Final Fantasy XIV. I'm curious about the character itself. Is the character transgender, or is it just a normal character with a weird voice? I don't know. As far as Wuk-Lamat, he said, we depicted Wuk-Lamat as someone who had a bit of a complex towards her parents and also towards her siblings, and because of that lack of confidence, I think that also contributed to the slow pace and the feeling of frustration. If we had maybe portrayed her as more of a confident character, maybe we would not have encountered that kind of situation, he opined. So in that regard, I feel that we did something quite bad for Wuk-Lamat as a character, and taking on this experience, it made me realize that it's important to consider those things when it comes to showcasing the character to the players. And what do you guys make of Yoshi P's comments about bringing the game to Nintendo console? I mean, that's great, you know, and the mixed reactions to Dawntrail. So it sounds to me like you hired the wrong actor to play Wuk-Lamat, and people are pushing back against it and don't like it, and you're trying to find excuses and make things up to divert the conversation away from the fact that that character is transgender, and you're trying to say other things like, well, we wrote the character wrong and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I mean, you know, you guys tell me in the comments what you think. As always, we'll catch the beefy with the Game Vault. Thanks for watching today. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. I'll see you next time. Until then, peace.